All right. Good morning. My name is George. I'm a mentor in the GATS program for 2020. Um, as usual, I'm doing another YouTube video to show us how to work with Quick Labs and to make best use of the resources available on GCP. Okay, first off, today's lab will be centering on working on recommending products using machine learning with Cloud SQL and Dataproc. Okay, so basically, of course, the lab should last for an hour, 30 minutes. And of course, we need to look at the overview, what we'll be learning today. So we'll be creating an instance of SQL, creating a database in there using .sql files from located in cloud storage. And then we'll populate the tables in those files tables in that database using CSV files also stored in cloud storage. Then we will allow access to SQL in our cluster job. It will use that to run and store information and that will be generated from the job. Okay, so let's quickly begin. We click here to start the lab, and of course we are supposed to use the credentials provided by Quick Labs and no other one. But of course, before you get here, you need to sign in with your Pluralsight credentials that are associated with the GATS program. Okay, so we drop this here, password. Click this, and as we move forward, let's quickly go through. Okay, so we will be creating an instance called rentals and specifying a password, and of course creating tables in that instance. Okay, so an instance is not a database. You create an instance, it's there. You now create databases in that instance and then work with those databases. Okay, so we will do that. So meanwhile, let's create the instance quickly. Forgive me if my network is a bit slow. It tends to do that from time to time. Okay, so all right, so let's come here. All right. All right, so let's go to storage SQL. I'll click on that. Then create instance. Our instance type will be MySQL. The other database types that are available, Postgres and MySQL. Okay, so the name will be given is rentals. Okay, and give it a password. It's a very simple one. Of course, the region is US Central 1 and version is 5.7. It's 5.6, but 5.7 is the most recent, and of course we will take that one. All right, so next thing we'll look at this script, SQL script. It is supposed to check if this database already exists. If it does not, create it. If it does, it doesn't bother. Then here we use that database and check if this file exists. If it does, drop it. That is, delete the file. Sorry, not file, table. Delete these tables if they exist, and of course create new ones using these lines of code here. Okay, we'll do that once our database is up and running. So let's quickly look through, and then of course we are expected to answer some questions as we wait. So the first one there is, how many tables will this script create? Now, of course, from here we're dropping 3 tables, and if you look at the script, you have 3 distinct sections, which of course represents the creation of tables. So we are talking 3 here. Let's check if we're correct. Okay, when a user rates a house, giving it 4 stars, for example, an entry is added to which of the tables. If you look at the definitions of the table, you should be able to answer those questions. So I'm thinking it's ratings. So all right, so I'm seeing ratings here, and I see ratings here also, but this is an int and this is a float. Okay, so I would think it's ratings. Okay, so let's see if we're correct. All right, we're correct. General information about houses, such as the number of rooms they have and their average ratings, is stored in which of the tables. Now if you look carefully, you see this table has more descriptions for the accommodations than any other. Recommendations, the predictions, of course, this will be coming for our Dataproc job, I believe. Okay, so I would think accommodation should be the answer to that particular question. So let's do accommodation. Okay, we're correct there. The job of the recommendation engine is to fill out which of the tables for each user and house. This is predicted rating of that house by that user. Okay, so if you look carefully, recommendations, predictions, float. Okay, so it can be fractions. Okay, so I would think the recommendations table is the answer. Okay, and we're correct on that one too. Okay, so let's check on our SQL and see if it's up and running. And of course, we will connect to it using the option to connect using Cloud Shell. There are other options there which we will see. Okay, right now, connect, the connection name is the only thing appearing. The other options aren't appearing because they are not yet ready. So give it a minute and we'll see what happens. Of course, the specifications for this table include one CPU, memory RAM of 3.7, and of course storage capacity of 10 gig. Okay, let's click on this and see what this shows us. Okay, actually goes somewhere else. Okay, all right, so this is a log of operations on your database. So here you can see what was done and what wasn't done and the rest of them. So you can use this operations area to keep track of things that occur on your database, so you're aware of any queries that were run against it. So we'll look at that much later as we progress. Let's go back to the overview. Let's click on connections and see what comes up. Okay, so these are different authorized apps in this project, all authorized. Means of connecting. You have the SSL connections. We have public and private IPs. Okay, all right. So let's go back to the overview. Let's go back here and check. Okay, so when we finally click on connect using a Cloud Shell, the Cloud Shell will be opened, and of course, when it's done, you will see this command here. This command is used to connect to our instance, which is called rentals. The user connecting will be the root user, and of course this quiet actually keeps things down a bit, I believe, but we could find out what that actually does by simply, let's copy this and let's see if we can find out what that does. So let me clean my table, my terminal, and paste that in and do this. Okay, let's see what it shows us. Okay, so it says let's look for the option for the quiet. The quiet flag was passed. Okay, it's a global flag, is quiet. What does it mean? What does it do? Okay, I don't see no explanation, but I believe the quiet prevents the command from outputting unnecessary texts. Just does it quietly, or does the connection quietly, and then it suppresses any outputs that would usually be displayed when you're connecting. Okay, so let's go back and see if we have. Okay, we're still on it. We're still doing that, so you can see here still going. All right, so it stopped. So okay, we're ready. So let's look. We have different ways of connecting. You can use the IP, you can use the connection name, the Cloud Shell, using a VM, see all connection methods. We're using this, so let's click on that one. And of course, down here, the shell opens up, and then we click continue. And after a few minutes, that command I showed you earlier, this one, will be written in the terminal, and you just simply need to hit the return key and it will now execute that command. Okay, so that's it. You hit the return key and it quietly does its thing in the background with no output to the terminal. Okay, of course quiet will be for errors, I believe, so not that very extremely sure, but I think that's what it does. So give it like 5 minutes. Okay, so while that is happening, once we are in there, we will be running this command to show the current databases that are present in there. Okay, so let's give it a minute. Okay, so meanwhile, we'll be using a tab, another tab in this lab. That's one of the reasons why you need to read through the lab. You read through it, you see the things you need to do. You can start some processes while you wait for others. So let this tab be up and running. Okay, so we now been asked for the password, and of course in Linux, when you enter your password, it doesn't display the password. It actually just does its stuff behind the scene and hit enter. Just don't get alarmed if when you type your password you don't see anything displayed. All right, so let's run this to create those 3 tables in that particular database. All right, and so the database has been created, and then what next are we supposed to do? We will check to see the tables that are present. Okay, let's do that. Still, okay, show us. Okay, so there are 3 tables: accommodation, ratings, recommendation. Okay, so these 2 we will fill that, and this other one will be filled by the Spark job, Dataproc job that we'll be running later on. Okay, so those are the 3 tables, and then let us run this query against the accommodation table. All right, so it's empty. So how many rows are in the accommodation table currently? There are none, so that's empty. Return an empty set. Okay, so now we stage data in Google Cloud Storage. So open a new Cloud Shell tab, which we already did, and then run this bit of command. Of course, this will just echo this string to the terminal. This other one will create a bucket with your project ID as the name of the bucket. This will do the same echoing of the strings here, and this one will copy something from this bucket here, Cloud Training, to our bucket we created, and then something else will still be copied again from Cloud Training to the same bucket. Then we echo some text out again, and then we list what has been copied to our cloud buckets, and then of course we cut one of the files, which is the accommodation.csv, to see the actual contents of that file. So let's do this. Let's hit this and do that. Oh, interesting. I did it in the wrong place. It should be done here. All right, so let's the process begin. Okay, so we're creating that, we're copying data. It's successful. We copy data again, and then we show the files in our bucket, and of course we cut that to show what we have in that particular file. So these are lines. They're about 99 lines, I believe. Okay, 99 lines. All right, so that's that. Let's go down. Let's scroll down. Okay, so this is the second option. If you don't want to use a terminal to run this command, you actually can go in the UI, create the storage bucket using your project ID, and then download these 2 files to your system and upload them to your storage bucket. All right, so loading data from Google Cloud Storage into SQL Tables. Okay, so let's begin. First off, we need to select import, and of course the database will be this, and the table name will be accommodation. Of course, we will pick our file from our storage location. Okay, let's do import, and let's minimize this. All right, so this is this. Click here, take this accommodation, select. It picks that up. The database we'll be using is this one, and the table name is this. Right, we click on that, and then we do the same thing for the ratings. So the ratings table, we'll get the data, of course, from cloud storage, and we'll do the same thing we just did previously. Okay, so it takes a minute. Shouldn't take that long. Okay, that's completed. All right, so we go again, come here, pick that, select that, and of course it picks up the type, and we're doing this here, and the table of course is this, and we click that. So that's that for that. Now explore the Cloud SQL data. We go back to our Cloud shell. We didn't close it, so ours is still open. If you did close yours, you simply just click on the connect using Cloud shell and it will boot up again. All right, so let's go back here, okay, and here, and run that command. Select all from ratings 15. Oh, command not found. Okay, obviously we have been disconnected from. Okay, so we need to run the command to connect again. Okay, that's the command. Let's connect once more. We'll be asked for our password, admin password. When we're asked, we will now enter that one. So you need to be aware an instance is not a database in itself, just an instance of the SQL service, running SQL service. Then once that is running, you can now create multiple databases, and of course do that and give access and do what you wish with them. Okay, so let's give a few minutes for that to come up. When that comes up, we will run this command against the rating tables to see. We will limit the returned rows to 15. Okay, so it's asking for the password. We enter that and we connect and we drop that in there. All right, so 15 rows were returned, and this is what we returned. So now we use this to aggregate the return values from this query. Okay, so let's run that and see. Okay, all right, so 1,186 ratings. Okay, so how many ratings do we have in our table? 1,186. Okay, now let's run this average review of our accommodations. Okay, so let's run that particular query. All right, so this is what is returned. Number of ratings 1,186. Distinct user ratings 25. Worst rating was 1. Best was 5. Average was 2.47 if you use 2 decimal places. Okay, so the average rating there is this. So we click on that. Okay, what does 25 for distinct user ratings mean? There are 25 ratings per user. There are 25 unique users who provide ratings. I think they are unique users, I believe. Okay, now in machine learning, we'll need a rich history of our user preferences for the model to learn from. So we actually take the history or data, pass it to the model, and then the model is trained on that data. So with that, you can use you can do predictions based on the training the model has received. Okay, so run the below query to see which users have provided the most ratings. Okay, let's click on this and we'll paste that there and then run. Okay, so user with ID 16 is the answer there, and he has given a rating of 75. Okay, how many reviews did the top user leave? 75. Okay, we're correct on that one. Now generating housing recommendations with machine learning using Cloud Dataproc. So we're going to set up our cluster here, and train and apply ML model written in PySpark to create products recommendation. Explore inserted rows in SQL. Okay, so after normally on-premise Hadoop or Spark jobs, data is usually stored on-premise, but in this case, we'll be moving that data to our Cloud SQL. Of course, to do that, you simply just pass the URL for the location of the for the storage location. Okay, so let's launch Dataproc. We are supposed to, it said in the GCP console, this take note the following on your SQL, the region and your SQL instance. All right, so this is my region and SQL instance. Let me go to all instance. Let me minimize this. Okay, so the region should be US Central 1, and the IP address is this. Of course, if you click into it, you will see all that. So let's now in Dataproc enable the API if prompted, and then create a cluster called rentals, and then specify the following configurations. For region is global, zone is US Central 1A, in the same zone with your SQL, Cloud SQL. Then the master node machine type should be N1 standard 2, and for worker nodes N1 standard 2. Then every other thing should be left as it is. So let's quickly create that cluster, Dataproc cluster. Okay, that should be under big data if I'm not mistaken. Okay, there it is. Let me open it in a new tab so it's easy for us to work with, and the name of that cluster is rentals. Okay, so let's and we will run this to okay, let's go down and see what it says. Copy and paste the below bash script into your Cloud shell. Optionally change the cluster zone or end workers if necessary before running. That is, if you did not leave the defaults, you made some changes, then you will need to change the workers, the zone, and all that, so that your script will run perfectly. Okay, this would actually set us up and allow access to our Cloud SQL from our Dataproc job. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so the name is Rentals, zone A, and for the master node, the machine type should be this. Go down for the worker nodes, which is this worker nodes. The machine type should be this. After that, every other thing should be left as it is. So let's check that and be sure. Okay, we're sure about that. Let us go down to create. Click create. Okay, so wait on that to run up, and then leave all other values. Note this, name this in your cluster, and of course we run this. So let's hold on, let the cluster come up a bit. All right, so okay, let's see what this script does. Authorizing Cloud Dataproc to connect with Cloud SQL. So it will be feeding its data into our Cloud SQL, but of course the script I'll actually do the process, the PySpark script is stored in cloud storage, so that will be pulled in from there, and then when this job is running, it will now push its recommendations and use that to populate the recommendations table that we just created. Okay, so let's look at our cluster. Let's close this. Our cluster is still running. All right, so we click on this. Okay, auto refresh is up, so it refreshes itself without you actually doing that. So let's give it a few minutes to come online. Okay, give it a few minutes to come online. Then we will submit the job, and of course, as it comes online, okay. All right, so let's refresh this. All right, so it's ready. So we click on that to create a job. Okay, before we do that, we're in a hurry, shouldn't do that first. We go back to our terminal. So let's bring up our terminal. We minimized it previously, so let's clear this up so that we see what we're doing. So we're going to run this command, set things up so that our Dataproc job can have access to our Cloud SQL to pass its data and into a particular table there. So let's run this. All right. Okay. All right, and then we'll patch that and let that happen. Okay, you say yes, and we'll allow that patch process to run. Okay, while that is running, okay, let's take our IP address. If you click here, okay. All right, so let's copy the IP address here. All right, we could leave it there. We don't really need to paste it anywhere. Okay, so the part job is complete. Now we're going to run the ML model. First thing first, we will copy over the model code by executing the scripts, the command below. So let's click on that. We'll be copying some files from Cloud Training to our current location. Okay, and then we'll edit that file before we push it online. So let's do that here. Okay. All right, so the file is there, and of course hit enter to launch the editor. All right, so this last line launches the Cloud Shell editor. Okay, so that's what that one does. Okay, so when we get in there, we're making some changes. We will put in the public IP address. Sorry for that. Let me return that here. Click on this to select this. Okay, so the editor is still launching. Give it a few minutes. Once it starts, we go to line 30 in this file. Get there, and then we'll make some changes. Okay, so give it a moment. Let it. Okay, it's done. Let's click on this one. Let's go to line 30. This is a bit slow, so I usually just drag this here. So line 30 is here. So that's where the IP address should be. Put that there. And what else are we to change? The password here. We add our root password, and of course autosave is enabled, but of course we advise to still save just to be to be sure it really did save. Now we copy that chained files to our cloud storage. Okay, so click open terminal once more and paste that in there, and then hit that enter. Okay, and the file has been copied. And then we come down and run our ML job on Dataproc. So we create a job, we submit a job, click on this. Type of job is PySpark. The name will leave as is. The main file here, we will be getting it from our cloud storage. Our cloud storage is actually named after our project ID, so we'll copy that. And of course, the file we are after is the file we used here, this file. Okay, the one we copied, we modified and copied online. So we'll put that there, no other thing to do, and then we'll create the job. Okay, so hopefully the job will go to completion. All right, so we are told it should take 5 minutes, and if it fails, please, we should troubleshoot using logs and fix the errors. You may need to re-upload the changed Python file to cloud storage and clone the failed job to resubmit. Okay, so jobs, if they fail, you need to reclone them or clone them to resubmit them once more. Okay, in a new browser tab, open SQL in storage, click rentals. Okay, that's the name of the instance, and then connect using shell. I don't think we closed ours, but if we did, we will do that. Now let's run this query and see what the results will be. So let's click here. We're still connected, so let's hit that one. All right, 0 count. Interesting. All right, so when prompted, okay, the job is running. Why are we getting that? Okay, let's hold on a bit. Click submit. Have we submitted the job? Yes, we have. All right, so let's go back here and just follow through and see. Okay, we've run the job. Okay, we've connected. Okay, when prompted, giving your password and then run this command. Let's run that command one more time. 0 count. Recommendations. Okay. All right, so job is running. Okay. Apparently we did something we shouldn't. Okay. All right, so let me disconnect from this instance and reconnect again. Okay. Explore the inserted rows with SQL. Okay, we need to wait for the job to succeed. So let's wait a bit. Let's click on this because this has the habit of not actually it reports job failure. Okay, our job failed. Okay, what was the problem? Okay, so our job failed according to what they're saying. Okay, the job failed. Okay, so let's go back and look at our file. Let's go to the open editor, check the file admin. This works. Okay, maybe we didn't do the patch properly. Let's go back up. Maybe we didn't give. Okay, change this. Admin password is what we used. Okay, changes. Let me go back up here. All right, let's run this again. Let me come here. Let me run this again. Okay, so let me just get out of there. It's not working. Okay, it's all right. Let's clean this up. All right, so let's run this again. Oh, sorry. Let's run this. Okay. Okay, let's walk through. We've run this. Okay. Be sure our cluster is called rentals. It is called rentals, and of course rentals for the instance of SQL. Okay, we've done that. Hit enter. Yes, wait for the patch to complete. Okay, let's wait for the patch to complete, and it's been updated. Okay, so we run this. We've already copied this file. Copy over the model by executing this. Okay, and then make these modifications. Let's go and look at that file. Okay, we have admin IP address. Let's look at the IP. Is this? Okay, so that's the problem. I see 34 here, and we have one this. Okay, so that's the problem. So let's save this one here, and of course we will need to push that again online. Okay, we copy this and push that, and of course it will overwrite the current version. Let's do this. Okay, that was the problem. Let's hit this, and it should overwrite the current version. So a new version has been updated, and we are told that we will need to, if the job fails, we need to re-upload. We've done that, and then the cloud store, and then clone the failed job to resubmit. Okay, so let's clone that failed job. Delete job. Where do we clone it? Interesting. Let's click on this and see. All right, so clone this job. All right, and job ID is this. Okay, let's go back. Let's see what names. Okay, there was nothing. We didn't change this. Rentals, park, same file, and we hit okay, PySpark job type. Okay, click on that. Error, job already failed, submit job. Okay, we need to change the name, we need to change the ID. Let's just remove one number there just to make it different. Okay, the job has been successfully submitted. Okay, all right, so the job is running. Let's click on that. Okay, so it's running. All right, okay, so then we need to connect to our SQL instance. Not this, just hit your up arrow key and it will flip through all your previous commands, and when you get to the one you're interested in, you just stop there and hit enter. Okay, so let's connect to. Okay, so the job is running, predicted. Okay, it's working, the predictions are coming through. Okay, so let's go. Remember I said we'll be looking at, while this is connecting, I said we'll look at operations. Let's go back to the instances. Okay, so click this. Operations. Okay, let's look at operations and see what and what. Okay. All right, so these are things that happened. Okay, these are the things that happen on our database. Okay, so we should see an update. Okay, so let's bring this up. Okay, it's asking for the password. Let's put that in. All right, so we are there. Then we are to run this query. Let's see what it will give us. Okay, all right, and 125. Okay, all right, so how many recommendations did the model provide? 125 recommendations. Okay, find the recommendations for a user, particular user. Okay, for each for a user, we drop that. Oh, sorry. Whenever you click select in the shell, it copies it automatically, so you need to be extremely careful. Okay. Okay, so these for user with user ID 10, these are his predictions. and of course all his recommendations. Okay, sorry, his recommendations. Okay, so it's a bit different. It's really different from what you have here, but important thing is that it has the user ID of 10, and of course every other thing is quite different. Okay, so we are done with that. Now, so in the light of that, with that done, okay, let's look again at operations. Let's see. All right, can we refresh this? Okay, let me refresh this and see. Okay, now let me stay on the page. If I do that, I will lose. Okay, let's look at our job. It succeeded. The job succeeded. Green check mark shows it succeeded. So let's go here and click this. Sorry, this, and then click operations once more. Okay, so that went well. That went well. So we can now close this one, close this, and of course end our lab. Build this, leave a rating, and of course we are done with that lab. So that's basically how simple it is to work with Dataproc. Also the workflow was very simple. The data source was stored, cloud storage was used to store the data that was used to populate the Cloud SQL instance. Then a third table, recommendations table, was created in the database, and then Dataproc was instructed and access was given, and it pushed all its recommendations it's generated from the job into the Cloud SQL. Thank you for watching, and I'll truly appreciate it if you leave likes and follow my channel also for other videos. Thank you very much, and bye bye.